There's a moment they don't want you to understand. Because if you see it clearly, you won't go back. And the truth is, it doesn't happen when you leave. It happens right before that, right when you start to change. You don't say anything, you don't make a big decision, but something inside you shifts, and somehow they feel it. Before you say a word, before you pull away completely, they feel it. And the second they do, everything about them starts to change. Not in a way that looks obvious, not in a way that feels fake, in a way that pulls you back in. And if you don't understand what's really happening here, this is the exact moment you lose all your progress. Because this isn't when they realize they love you. It's not when they suddenly wake up. And it's definitely not when they become a different person. It's something else. Something most people completely miss. At first it feels small, almost unnoticeable. They take a little longer to respond. Their tone shifts just slightly. They start watching you more carefully, listening a little more than usual. And you feel it, that strange tension. Like something is building, but you can't name it yet. Because what's happening isn't on the surface, it's underneath. They're scanning you, trying to understand one thing. Are you actually done this time, or is this just another phase? Because you've pulled away before. You've gotten tired before. You've said, I can't do this anymore before. And then you stayed. You explained. You tried again. You gave them access again. So this time, they don't react right away. They observe, they wait, they test. They don't just test you in obvious ways. It's subtle, almost invisible if you're not paying attention. They might bring up something random from the past, something emotional, something unresolved, not to fix it, but to see how you react. They might act slightly distant one day and unexpectedly warm the next. Not because they're confused, but because they're measuring you. They're watching for one specific thing. Emotional movement. Any sign that you're still attached, still affected, still reachable. Because to them, your reaction is information. Your silence is information. Your distance is information. And the more unpredictable you become, the more focused they get. And this is where most people get confused. Because instead of chasing you, they start pulling back too. They mirror your distance. They become just a little colder, a little harder to reach. And it creates a question in your mind. Are they losing interest? Do they not care anymore? And that question is exactly what they want. Because uncertainty pulls you in deeper than clarity ever could. When things are clear, you decide, you move, you act. But when things feel unclear, you stay, you analyze, you replay moments in your head. You start trying to figure them out. And without realizing it, you shift your focus back to them. That's the trap. Not control through force, control through confusion. Because if you're thinking about them, you're still in the dynamic. Even if you think you're pulling away. Because now you're the one thinking about them. You're the one feeling the shift. You're the one starting to lean back in. But if you don't, if you actually stay in that space, something different happens. Something they're not used to. You don't chase, you don't explain, you don't try to fix it. You just stay still. And that's when it hits them. Not emotionally, not romantically, structurally. They feel the loss of control. And here's what most people don't understand about that moment. It doesn't feel like love to them. It feels like instability, like something they can't predict anymore. And for someone who's always known how to navigate you, that's deeply uncomfortable. Because control for them isn't just behavior. It's safety. It's how they keep things in place, how they avoid feeling exposed. So when that control starts slipping, they don't process it emotionally. They react to it strategically. They move fast, not always visibly, but very intentionally. And for someone who's always had access to you, that feeling is unbearable. So they change, but not in the way you think. This is where it gets dangerous, because this is the version of them you've been waiting for. The one you believed existed, the one you defended, the one you kept hoping would show up consistently. And now it's here, at the exact moment you were starting to let go, which creates a powerful internal conflict. Because part of you thinks, this is what I wanted. This is what I needed. So maybe I just needed to wait. But another part of you feels it. Something isn't fully right. The timing feels too precise, too reactive. And that internal split, that's where most people lose themselves again. Because this is the part that feels real. This is the part that makes you pause, that makes you question everything. They soften, their tone changes, they become more present, more attentive, more careful with their words. They start saying things you've been waiting to hear, doing things you've been asking for, showing a version of themselves that feels almost unfamiliar. And your mind goes straight to one conclusion. This is it. They finally get it. They're changing. But look at the timing. Really look at it. This version of them didn't show up when you were giving everything. It didn't show up when you were patient, when you were understanding, when you were trying. It showed up the moment you started to disappear. And if you zoom out for a second, you'll notice something even more revealing. Every time you got close to walking away, something shifted. Every time you started detaching, they came back differently. More present, more engaged, more invested, but only at that edge, only at that moment. Never before it, never during stability, only during loss. And that pattern is not random. That's not growth, that's response. They're not moving towards you because they understand you. They're moving towards you because they feel you leaving. And that difference changes everything. Because now you're not seeing who they are. You're seeing what they do when they're about to lose access to you. And that version is temporary. It has a purpose, and that purpose is to pull you back into position. So they adjust, they say the right things, they give just enough. They create just enough hope to reopen the door. And if you step back in, slowly and subtly, everything goes back to how it was. Not immediately. That's what makes it so confusing. At first, they maintain it. They stay consistent just long enough. Just enough for you to relax. Just enough for you to believe it's real. And then, little by little, it fades. The attention drops. The effort slips. The old patterns return. And suddenly you're back in the same place. Trying to understand what changed. Trying to get that version of them back. But that version was never meant to stay. It was never a transformation. It was a strategy. And once you truly understand that, you stop chasing moments. You stop holding on to isolated behaviors. You stop building hope based on temporary version of someone. Because you start seeing consistency for what it is. Not what they do when they're afraid of losing you, but what they do when they feel secure having you. And that's the version that tells the truth. Not the one that appears in urgency, but the one that exists in comfort. And once you see that, everything starts to make sense. You realize something uncomfortable, but powerful. They didn't suddenly become capable. They were always capable. The attention, the effort, the awareness, the emotional presence, it was always there. It just wasn't activated when you were fully available because they didn't need it. You were already there, already invested, already trying. So there was no pressure to change, no urgency, no risk. But the moment you shifted, the moment you became unpredictable, the moment you stopped playing your role, they felt it and they responded, not with truth, but with adjustment. And this is where your clarity comes from. Because now the question isn't, do they care? The real question is, when do they choose to show it and why? And once you ask that, you can't unsee the pattern. You start noticing the timing, the triggers, the shifts. You see that their best behavior isn't consistent. It's conditional. It depends on your distance, your silence, your absence, which means it was never about becoming better. It was about regaining control. And once you understand that, something inside you changes. Because the hardest part isn't seeing the pattern. It's accepting what it means. It means that what felt special was triggered. What felt deep was reactive. What felt like change was temporary. And that realization can hurt, but it also frees you. Because now you're no longer responding to what they show you in moments. You're responding to what they consistently are. You stop reacting the same way. You stop getting pulled in by the same moments. You stop confusing effort with transformation. And most importantly, you stop going back just because they finally showed you what you needed all along. Because now you see it clearly. They didn't change. You did. And that's when it started. Not for them, for you. And once that shift happens, there's no going back to not seeing it.